I always thought of myself as a good parent. Sure, I wasn't perfect, but I tried to give my son Ethan a decent life. He's 8, and like most kids his age, he's curious about everything. Always asking questions, always exploring. I love that about him, but I gotta admit, some nights, he wears me out. This story I'm about to tell you, though, it's not like any other night. It's been stuck in my head, and no matter how much I try, I just can't shake it. So, it was a regular weekday evening. Ethan had school the next morning, so I made sure he was in bed by 8:30. I read him a story, something about talking animals, and kissed him goodnight. He smiled, his little face glowing in the soft light of his night lamp, and he whispered, "Good night, Dad." I smiled back, said, "Good night, buddy," and turned off the light. After that, I did what I usually do when the house gets quiet. I wandered around a bit, checked the doors to make sure they were locked, turned off the lights in the kitchen, and just took in the silence. The quiet can be nice, you know? A chance to think. I was halfway down the hall when I walked past Ethan's room again. That's when I heard it. A soft whisper. "Good night." It stopped me in my tracks. At first, I thought it was Ethan talking in his sleep. Kids do that, right? I leaned closer to the door, my ear almost touching the wood. It was silent for a second, and I almost turned away, but then I heard it again. This time it wasn't Ethan. I swear to you it wasn't. It was a deeper voice, almost like a quiet growl, but it still whispered back, "Good night." I froze. Every hair on my body stood up like they were reaching for an exit. My first thought, maybe it was the TV, but I knew there wasn't one in Ethan's room. My second thought, maybe I was just hearing things. Yeah, that had to be it. I mean, come on, what else could it be? Still, something about it made me feel off. I had this sinking feeling in my stomach, like the air around me got heavier. But I had to check, I couldn't just ignore it. So I slowly pushed the door open. Ethan's room was dimly lit by his little star projector, you know, the kind that splashes tiny stars and moons all over the ceiling. I looked at him first. He was sound asleep, curled up under his blanket, breathing slow and steady like he didn't have a care in the world. But then I scanned the rest of the room. The closet was open just a crack, enough to make me uneasy. His toys were scattered on the floor, same as always. His bookshelf looked untouched. Nothing seemed out of place. I whispered his name. "Ethan?" No response. I stepped inside, my eyes darting around the room. Something didn't feel right, but I couldn't put my finger on it. That's when I noticed the corner, the one by the window. It's a dark spot where the nightlight doesn't quite reach. At first glance it looked empty, but the longer I stared, the more I felt like I wasn't alone. I walked closer, my heart pounding in my chest. "Hello?" I whispered, feeling like a complete idiot. Who was I expecting to answer, right? The corner stayed silent, but the air felt thick, like I was walking through water. I turned to look at Ethan again just to make sure he was still asleep. He was, completely still, completely peaceful. That's when I heard it. A soft, quiet chuckle. It wasn't Ethan, it wasn't me, it came from the corner. I swear to you, I almost lost it right then and there. I grabbed the closest thing I could find, a plastic lightsaber from Ethan's toy box, and pointed it toward the corner, like that was gonna help. "Who's there?" I demanded, my voice shaking. Nothing, just silence. But it wasn't a comforting silence. It was the kind of silence that presses on your ears, making you feel like something's waiting, watching. I took a step closer, my grip tightening on the lightsaber. My eyes were adjusting to the dark, and for a split second I thought I saw movement, a shadow shifting, almost like it was pulling itself deeper into the corner. I blinked, and it was gone. But then I heard Ethan's voice, clear as day. "Good night, Dad." I whipped around so fast, I almost dropped the toy. He was still asleep. His lips weren't moving, but I heard him. I heard his voice, and it came from behind me. I turned back to the corner, and that's when I saw it. Two glowing eyes. Not bright, but just enough to catch my attention. They were low to the ground, like whatever it wasn't standing. It was crouching, watching me. I couldn't move. My body felt like it was locked in place. The eyes didn't blink, they didn't waver. They just stared at me. And for a moment, I swear I felt something crawl into my mind, like it was digging through my thoughts, pulling them apart piece by piece. Then, just as quickly as they appeared, they were gone. The corner was empty again. The air felt lighter, and I could move. But my legs felt like jelly, and my hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the lightsaber. I couldn't move. My legs felt like they were glued to the floor, and my heart was beating so loud I thought it might wake Ethan. I wanted to bolt out of there, to get as far away from that corner and those eyes as I could. But then I looked at Ethan, sleeping so peacefully, completely unaware of what was happening. I couldn't leave him, no matter how scared I was. No way was I going to leave my son alone in that room. So I did the only thing I could think of. I sat down in the chair by his bed, the one I usually sit in when he's sick or having a hard night. I didn't take my eyes off that corner, though, not for a second. I stayed there, gripping that stupid plastic lightsaber like it was a real weapon, my ears straining for any sound, any sign that whatever it was might come back. The room felt wrong. The air was heavy, like something was pressing down on me, but I forced myself to stay calm. I kept telling myself, "You're his dad. He needs you. Whatever this is, you're not letting it get near him." Every time Ethan stirred or mumbled in his sleep, my heart jumped. I was terrified that the thing in the corner might answer him again. But the night dragged on, and nothing happened. Just that awful, suffocating quiet. I didn't sleep. I didn't even close my eyes. I just sat there, staring at the corner, my mind racing with every possible explanation. Was I imagining it? Was it some kind of prank? Or was it something else? Something I couldn't explain, even if I wanted to. Finally, the first light of morning crept through the curtains and the heaviness in the air lifted. The corner looked normal again, just a patch of shadow like it always was. I let out a breath I didn't even realize I was holding. Ethan woke up a little after that, yawning and rubbing his eyes like it was any other day. He smiled when he saw me sitting there and said, "Morning, Dad. Why are you in my room?" I forced a smile and ruffled his hair. "Just keeping you company, buddy." I asked him casually, "Hey, buddy, did you hear anything weird last night?" He just looked at me with those big, innocent eyes and said, "Nope. Why?" I didn't want to scare him, so I just shook my head. "No reason?" He grinned and hopped out of bed, running off to find his toys. Just like that, it was over. For him, anyway. But for me, it's been weeks, and I still can't get rid of the feeling that something's not right. I haven't heard the whispers again, and I haven't seen the glowing eyes. But that night changed something. I can't look at that corner without my stomach twisting into knots. And every time Ethan whispers, "Good night," before bed, I catch myself holding my breath, waiting for that second voice to answer. So far, it hasn't. But I can't help but wonder, was it real or am I losing it? Either way, I hope it never happens again. That's it for now. I hope you enjoy these stories. If you did, check out more of my videos on the screen above or visit my channel for even more. Don't forget to subscribe for future updates. Stay safe and take care.